Welcome to the next session on the topic of fasting. So in the first session, we heard that first, fasting is a forgotten foundation, and second, that fasting is lovesickness. And now we have the third point, and it says that fasting submits my soul. In Psalm 35, verse 13, it says, I humbled my soul with fasting. I humbled my soul with fasting. So we are body, soul, and spirit. And in fasting, we humble our soul. So my spirit is redeemed as soon as I invite Jesus into my life, and my spirit is one with the Spirit of God. So my spirit is already redeemed here on earth. My soul is in the process of being redeemed here in this world. So it's the fight between the new and the old, the flesh and the spirit. So that's something we are in. So my soul, we're in our, that's what the Bible says, sanctification. So my soul is in the way of sanctification. So we're about to be more godly in our whole being, and that's our soul. And here is actually one of our big battles in our soul. And then there's the body here. And our body will not be redeemed here on earth. It will be redeemed when we're dead and when Jesus comes back. Okay? That's when our body will be redeemed. So spirit is redeemed, the soul is in the process of being redeemed, and my body will be redeemed. So here, our big battlefield is our soul. And that's what fasting is about. So our soul is my will, my intellect, and my emotions. So my will, God, I don't want this. God, I don't want to do this. That's my will. Then my intellect, I think God, or I doubt you that, or I don't really believe you, or these are my strongholds that are bound in my head. Did God really say? That's my intellect. And then my emotions, my feelings. I don't feel God, so I don't follow him. And these are my feelings. And these three things, my will, my intellect, and my emotions, they are the things that keep myself from going all in for Jesus. But it's also the things when my will, my intellect, and my emotions are being sanctified and becoming more Jesus-focused, then actually that's me going more all in with Jesus. So that's what the Bible says, becoming new creation by transforming of your mind. So now we go back to the verse, I submit my soul with fasting. So when I'm fasting, I submit my will, my intellect, and my emotions, that they are not so loud anymore, but that my spirit becomes louder. I humble my soul with fasting. It says something like, okay, now, shut up. My fleshly will, my fleshly intellect, my fleshly emotions, and the godly part, my sanctified part, you can be louder. In fasting, the spirit becomes very sensitive. So it's actually, fasting is not blackmailing God and saying, oh God, look how poor I am, look and to blackmail God and say, okay, wow, now God says, now this poor person, when I see how bad he's doing, then I will do something. No, something actually happens in fasting in us. So in fasting, we don't change God's will, we change our will. That's what happens in fasting. So I say there are different appetites. We have a bodily appetite, a soul appetite, and a spirit appetite. And if we hunger our body and soul appetites, my spiritual appetite can eat more. And that's actually why we humble our soul in fasting. I sort of starve my body and soul to feed my spirit. So when my soul becomes quiet, my spirit gets loud. And so we get to the fourth point of fasting, because fasting casts out unbelief. fasting casts out unbelief. In Mark 9, verse 14 and 29 to 29, there's this story of the demon-possessed boy. And the disciples of Jesus come to Jesus and say, well, we couldn't drive this demon out. And Jesus just drive this demon out. And then and they say, well, why couldn't we do this? And then Jesus says, well, this kind only goes out by prayer and fasting, in Mark 9, verse 29. And he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing, but by prayer and fasting. So now, often we look at this story and think, okay, well, only this demon can be cast out by prayer and fasting. But when we look at the whole context, it's never, in the first case, about the demon. It's more about unbelief. So he says, well, it's because of your unbelief. And when you believe, if you just believe, then you can move mountains and all these things. So Jesus' context is unbelief and belief. And he says, actually, and that's what I believe here, is not about the demon, it's about the unbelief. So he says, this unbelief can only be cast out by prayer and fasting. Why? Because unbelief is actually a soul problem. So when my will, my intellect, and my emotions don't follow the things that God says, that's actually unbelief. So unbelief is not I don't believe anything. Unbelief is I believe something different more. I believe my intellect more. I believe my feelings more. I believe my will more. And that's actually what unbelief is. And so in fasting I say, okay, now soul, become quiet. The fleshly part of my soul, you can get quiet now. So my spiritual me, the new me, can become louder. So the unbelief, we silence the unbelief and we tune up the volume of our spirit. And that's why so much power and so many things, and God moves so many ways in fasting. That's why so many strongholds and things are broken in fasting. So I have dozens of stories of men who got free from pornography and different things just through fasting. People who got healed just because they were fasting and their belief got so strong, they were just healed like that. God is doing amazing things in fasting. So fasting is a bodily action with the soul and a spiritual reaction. So that's what actually happens there. So how I said in the first session, you will only experience the power of fasting when you start fasting. And the cool thing about fasting is, how do you fast? Just start. And I want to invite you, go on this journey. I believe really this is something that God has, it's like a secret weapon God has prepared for us. For freedom, for authority. And let's grab it. And let's go into this next season with authority, freedom, and power. God bless you guys.